Welcome, Alex and Matt from To Metalladium Pages. It's a great pleasure to talk with you about Tite, this new inversion Raptor, and other things related to the metal world. So, starting with a common question: how was the band been during these 3 years? Because your previous album was released in 2020, and now 3 years later we have Inversion Raptor.
It's been good. We unfortunately we put out Inverse Rapture or no Penance during the pandemic, so we weren't really able to like tour on it. But we started playing shows again in 2022, and ever since then it's been great.
Okay, one thing that I saw that this is your first album was released during the pandemic. Now you are releasing this your second album after the pandemic. So how do you will see the promote now? Because you will promote both albums or just the last album, because the first album didn't have the option to promote with live shows for the pandemic, etc.
Yeah, we're pretty much just focusing on the latest album, Inverse Rapture. It's more current. It's where we're at musically right now. You know, it's like It's like from Penance, our last album, to this album. It's like an evolution of our writing style, and that's just like woodshedding, you know, in the practice room, and like, you know, figuring out what we want to do with the band. And so the latest album is really kind of where we're at. So that's, you know, what we're most excited about, of course. Yeah, we're real excited. We actually are streaming the full album today.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the release, although it's on the 17th of February is the official release date when you can buy it from Profound Lore and everything. But you can listen to it now on YouTube on Profound Lore's YouTube page. It's pretty exciting. We're real excited about it.
No, it's a great record. We did a review on our Metalladium page. It's published, I think, two weeks ago. So we listened completely this last album. I'm curious thing about this. The both albums, because when I read reviews from both albums, especially for the first one, the Penance, I don't understand why the reviewers complicate the life, putting a title like doom metal band with death metal with grindcore stuff. So for me, you are more like death metal with grindcore stuff, a little black more now. So, but for you, what is the exactly conception that the Tithe has for the music? Is death metal, black metal, grindcore, or perhaps you have extreme metal? Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. You know, that's a good question. It's really, I love all those genres. And when I'm writing riffs for the band, I borrow from all of the things that I love about all of those three genres specifically and especially. I mean, the death metal, just like, my favorite is like, you know, brutal death, personally. But I love all of the different genres, and I love grind, and old punk stuff too. Although like I kind of gravitate towards grind more. And black metal too. It's like I love all of those things. And I don't know, you know, I think it's been a blessing and a curse that we don't really stick to a certain genre. That definitely makes it harder for people to like sometimes, I think. But essentially, I think that we're writing music that we like, and all of those influences play a big part in what we choose to write. You know, it's just like it's all an appreciation of those different styles. It's kind of where we're coming from.
Yeah, we don't necessarily have like a specific like genre in mind when we like are during the writing process, but I mean, especially with Inverse Rapture, we kind of went a little bit more on the black metal side than our last record. But yeah, we don't set out to be like a death metal band or a black metal band or a grind band. We just we write what we write and what we like to listen to, and kind of put it all in the mixing pot.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, the last album has a lot of mixtures, but the not well, the most things that I denote for me is just the death metal and the black metal with grindcore stuff. Whether this is the main stuff that surround this new album. But now, you said that when you think of the music, you feel free to compose. That's normally for all musicians around the world. So in talking about this subject, or live with influence and feeling what happens internally and externally for the musicians. Many musicians say that they don't have a direction when writing music and are carried away by the feelings that they have in the moment. And so, for you, how do the parts of producing an album connect with the idea of sensation of it? Could we say that the music is a concept thinking or is a concept not thinking for you?
I think it's kind of both. There's definitely the concept of what tithe is, which I can't really define. I've spoken with all my bandmates. Kevin can't be here today, but Kevin, I work with a lot. He's the drummer, and we practice a lot and kind of like build the riffs together. But we talk about this all the time. We're like, what is it that we're doing? I don't fucking know, But there's not really like a concept in mind. Although I think that the thing that we're trying to refine and make a better recipe of, maybe like if you're cooking, like making some shit, like what is it that we do? So we're trying to build on what we do, whatever that might be defined by people as, but it's definitely just trying to make like refining the sound that we've been working on, if that makes any sense. It does,
Yeah, hooks, heavy riffs, blast beats, aggressiveness. We just kind of like stick to, I guess, those concepts, and whatever like comes out.
No. Okay. Well, when I hear for the first time Penance, I remember when the last three songs has a stoner rips into there in the end of the songs, the three last songs has a stoner rips. Many people that's why many people confuse when they do metal area, perhaps. But with this new album, you are more stronger, you're more faster, more savage in a lot of ways. So for you, what is the biggest difference that exists? Well, that for me is the biggest difference now. So you are more furious, a much furious band than the previous one. But for you, what is the biggest difference that exists with this new album compared to the previous one?
I kind of wanted to like just make it more aggressive and more brutal for whatever it's worth. I know it sounds like a silly goal for someone to like shoot for, but I really like I had this epiphany when I was hanging out with my friends camping, and we were like high on acid listening to metal all night, and it was amazing. And just like when I was listening to all the like fucking awesome bands we were listening to, I was thinking to myself, I really want to make our music darker and heavier and just like more aggressive and just have like that edge, like where like it's like that itch that like metal scratches if you like extreme metal, where it's like you're like, yes.
Right.
And I don't know, and like I know it's hard to explain really, but it's like that thing. And I just thought to myself, this is what I want to like try and write our stuff for the next album more aggressive and darker. I just wanted it to sound more evil and like aggressive. And and I think the thing with like Tithe, to answer your question earlier too, like we're always kind of like focusing on like a hook. It's like how the riff kind of cycles back around. But I always want to keep incorporating that, and I think that's something that we'll do in the future too. It's like, how do the riffs like hook, and then how do they fit together? But it's that hook, that where it cycles around. You're like, there's something about like the way the riff sounds, and it just has a certain timing or something where it catches your.
Yeah. Okay. So now talking a little bit about the history of the band. Well, the band starts in 2017. Then you are you are a lot of music into there with the first EP in 2017, 2020, your first album, now your second album. But one thing about the first album is that the first one just released in tape and vinyl. So why didn't the band release on CD? Because a lot of people, like me, I prefer the CD since the 80s. I love this format. But why the band didn't release at the first time when CD? I think I think the band never released this first album on CD.
I think that was more Tartarus Records decision. I don't think they really release a lot of CDs. That was the label that we put Penance out through. But yeah, they did a great job with the vinyl LPs and cassettes. Maybe at some point down the line we'll put it out on CD, but that was more like the label's decision.
No? Okay, so talking about the labels, well, the first album was released by Tartarus Records, and now you are one of the biggest metal underground labels, because Profound Lore Records is one of the biggest knows to know how this kind of music, black, death, grindcore, a lot of textures into their bands that they produce. So how was the transition to the Tartarus to the Profound Lore Records? So how was your first encounter with Profound Lore Records?
We just sent Inverse Rapture to Chris from Profound Lore, and he really dug it and said he couldn't stop listening to it. So, and it seemed like a kind of a natural step to start working with him. I mean, Tartarus treated us great for the first album. Like, we're really appreciative that he put it out, because we didn't really have anything on our names at that point, but it just seemed like a natural step to start working with Profound Lore.
Okay. Well, one question that I saw that now that you are in a room and in a living room, I think. So I saw that behind you was the first cover of the first album from you. So what for you is the meaning of the first cover? Because when you put the cover art in your wall, for always this cover means something bigger.
Well, we had the artist Jeff Whitehead paint the album for us. We commissioned it from him, and it came out really great. We love what he did. Yeah, I'd given him like some ideas, but basically it was just like, don't listen to me too much, just do whatever you want to, because I feel like, if you give an artist too much direction, sometimes it's going to maybe ruin what they might do, So I was like, his art came out a lot cooler probably than my original suggestions. My original suggestions is like an altar covered in blood, with lots of blood. Basically, that was my like artistic suggestions. I was like, well, do whatever you want. And there was a few other like suggestions I had, and he incorporated them into it. But yeah, I mean, really, I just really like what he did artistically. It came out really cool, but we kind of like left it up to him a little bit.
With the second cover art, there is a huge steps, because the art is completely different from the first one. Because now there's more flesh into there, a lot of headless there, like devil into there. So for you, how do you relate the music now from the now Tithe music with the inverse rapture of the name, with the lyrics and the cover art? Because it's very, very well, for me, it's a very stronger cover art now.
Well, I gotta say, the guy Abomination Hammer that he goes by, he is one of my very favorite artists, and I found him when I started looking for cover art, and I was looking around and asking everybody I know, all my metalhead friends, hey, do you know any artists? And one of my buddies like turned me on to him, and immediately when I saw his artwork, I was captivated by it. I can't really explain it, but I saw his art and I was like, this is the guy. This is amazing. Like, and I love his artwork. I don't know, but I felt like it was perfect for like what we're doing. And even aside from our band, I really am a big fan of his artwork. And I bought the original piece. I have the original like album cover in my bedroom, and it's like a 5 foot by 5 foot piece. It's huge. It's hanging over my bed, and it's amazing. Like I'll practice up in the room sometimes. I have a amp up there, and I was like staring at things like, holy shit, this fucking art is amazing. Very thought provoking. I don't know. His art is fucking awesome. I love Abomination and the Hammer's art. Yeah, he's great.
Oh, okay, nice to hear. Nice to hear. Well, now you said that the album was premiered today in YouTube channel now before the official release that it will be this Friday. So, what is your opinion now about the digital platform now? Is good or is bad for the metal scene? Because I prefer always the physical stuff, but in the new generation is going to the digital platforms, Spotify, iTunes, and this new generation wants to hear just one or two songs from an album. So this is the blame of the digital platforms now. So what is your opinion about the digital era into the extreme metal world? Is good or is bad for you?
I think it's definitely makes it more accessible to more people. I mean, plenty of people love to collect physical still, but just being able to look it up on YouTube and be able to listen to it just opens the doors to more people being able to discover it. I think we'll always have physical as part of every album or release that we do, but it's just being able to discover new bands on the internet has honestly been a part of my upbringing too. Yeah.
I want to say too, I agree with Alex, and I'm a lot older, and I think that like it is all those things are great, but I think that like the digital availability kind of takes some of the. I remember when I was a kid, you'd like get some like LP or like a CD. You'd be like so excited about it. You're like, oh man, fucking I have this thing. It's fucking awesome. I found this, like I own this. No one else knows about this. It's cool. And it's so accessible now. I feel like it kind of like cheapens a lot of stuff, but it's also really great that music is accessible. It's like two sides of a coin.
You can't get buried. Like there's just so much out there that it can be hard to like stand out necessarily, but yeah.
And
go for it.
No, you go ahead.
I mean, the physical will always be a part of it. Like I love just like pulling out a record and having the big artwork. It's always a like good part of listening to an album.
Yeah.
And what I was kind of saying too before I interrupted Alex here, but another thing about like just like social media and like digital platforms and everything being so available, and what you were saying, like people only want to listen to like 2 songs. I feel like the shortening of people's attention span is not necessarily a good thing, and there is something about like digesting a whole piece of art or an album and sitting with it, and like having that physical copy and kind of holding it and listening to it. It's like a lost experience, and the shortening of people's attention spans is a dangerous thing, for whatever it's worth. I don't know, but I think it's bad. I think it's fucking people up. Like social media has fucked us all up.
Oh yeah, that's true in some ways. So what do you think about the metal fans over 40 years old? I'm 43, by the way. So are that always going back in time when it comes to the musical tastes? I mean, so it is obvious that all our jewels were published in those times, but for many fans, for the all that metal stuff, all black metal stuff, all grindcore stuff album, they cannot be surprised now because many people for my age or for our age things like that. So all music, all extreme music was did in the 40s, in the 80s and 90s, just things like that. So many fans are over for more from the 40 years old, things like that. So in this context, what moves you to continue making music, especially with this new album, knowing that there are many fans that will resist sometimes the new bands and new releases, because as you said, Alexis, there's a lot of releases coming each day, albums, EPs, singles, videos. Well, it's very difficult to catch up with everything in YouTube, especially.
Mm-hmm. Well, music is a very subjective and personal thing, and essentially, I'm writing music for myself, and I want to write music that I want to hear. Although after I record it, I don't want to hear it and can't listen to it. But whatever, it's a whole other problem. But that's the goal, I'm like, oh shit, I want to like write something that I want to hear. And that's the thing. It's like I definitely like the roots of all music is good. You take the roots of any genre and you're like, that's the shit right there. But at the same time, you don't want to like stop being open to other influences as an older person too, because like there's a lot of like things that are coming out that are amazing that people are doing. And I think you should always be open to maybe like checking out new stuff and listen to it. And you might like it, you might not, but you might like it. So it's worth like being open-minded about it, because there's a lot of new stuff that people are doing that's amazing. And the kids are like you when you're a kid, man. They're trying to figure shit out too. They're making some good shit, some of them. And like, I don't know.
Okay. So talking about the influence in general for Tite, well, for the first one, for the first album, and now for the second album, what kind of influence do you have since the beginning to now? Which bands motivate you to create Tite at the beginning? So when perhaps you are both are musicians, when you played your first time your guitar or bass, and when you had 17 years old or 15 years old, hey, I love this metal band, I love this album, and compile this aspect. Perhaps do you have some 5 records to motivate to create Tite until now?
I guess like my main influences as far as like driving me to play, not even like even before Tithe necessarily, is like I'd have to say the main two are probably Slayer and Cannibal Corpse. I've always been like a big thrash metal fan and death metal fan. Bass playing wise, especially Alex Webster from Cannibal Corpse has always been a big influence. But yeah, I'd have to say the start for me was just the early 80s thrash.
Yeah, I'd have to say for me, like, I love music. I listen to it all. I listen to, anything classic rock to jazz, classical music. I think like my biggest influence, it's hard to say. I always think about that. Like people ask you, what's your favorite like record? I don't know. I don't think I have one, but I have a lot of favorite records. And I don't know. For me, with as far as writing and like what has influenced our writing, is just like a cathartic release for me. It's like it's like something I have to do. Otherwise, I don't know what the fuck I'll be doing with my life. I'll be pretty unhappy.
Okay. So I've been reading the aspects of the lyrics, and I'm mostly coming into the music from Tite. It's talking about the mental illness, talking about the psychedelics, the human conditions, etc., etc. No, and a curious thing, all these aspects relating, and a lot of metal bands around the world. So for you, which is your main inspirations to talk about these aspects? Perhaps books, perhaps movies, perhaps horror movies, perhaps social, personal stuff in your lives, or who knows, work, who knows?
I would say it's like life experience and just like a general distaste for my interactions with people.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, nice, nice. Well, we are very close to
See
this.
how fucked up like people act too on a bigger scale too, but it's still that general distaste of like how people act and treat each other, you know. So you can take it on a small level, like I don't like the way this person's acting. It's like, but then you take it on a bigger level and you're like, holy shit, like people like fucking murdering fucking masses of people or controlling people with religion or you name it, you know, any technological advancement is amazing, but on the flip side of that, it's used for like military applications. It's going to fuck you up. And that's used psychologically. I know we were speaking of social media earlier too, but like, you know, they people are working on that shit. And a lot of times it's not even that nefarious. They're just doing it because it makes them more money with advertisement, but it plays out bad, you know, because of greed. Like greed is the thing that
Mhm.
is the undoing of us, I think. We'll see, but I feel like we might see it or our children. I'm not gonna have any kids, but my friends' kids, they might see it. We might be at the time when like some shit pops off because of the way people are. It's an interesting time to be alive.
Yeah. One thing that you said, Matt, is about the technology. Now the technology has a big steps with the artificial intelligence, as you can see in a lot of news that there's someone creates a software. Is this so? And now this software create a piece of art, but a piece of art when you put a little description in the box, perhaps you put World War, Final War, and this artificial intelligence create art, no? So cover arts for the bands, even Catatonia in your lab, well, the second, yeah, the third single from them, they create this single lyric single with the artificial intelligence images. So, what is your opinion now? Now the artificial intelligence is now more present into the music industry, in the art in general, because a lot of people using drum machines, guitar machines, keyboard machines, etc., etc. What is your opinion?
Well, I mean, there's like a whole lot of stuff in there, but you know, I think that you know, I mean, with drum machines and electronic music, that's like a thing that's been going on for a long time. And I used to work at like house music club many years ago, over 20 years ago for a long time. Didn't really care for the music, but it made me think a lot about like, you know, my judgments on music and you know, what is music and what is good. And because I'll be like, man, these fucking people suck. They fucking don't even know who the fuck Slayer is and shit. And like, but I was like, you know what, man, they're enjoying this music, whatever. You know, who am I to judge them? You know, and that's kind of like with music, it's all subjective. So whatever you like, you like. But with like the art, it's I don't know, it's hard to say. I've seen some really cool generated art where I'm like, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
I feel
yeah.
like it's not like AI hasn't quite gotten there yet, but I think that artificial intelligence is terrifying because I think it's going to get better at it than us at some point. It's going to be able to like read our dopamine, like the things that like makes us like happy and like, oh, you like that? And that's like that's going to be beyond what we can understand. I feel like I don't know. We probably won't even be able to explain it. We won't be. I
It's
mean,
gonna have more of the human
crazy.
touches. It's like
Uh-huh.
maybe we should almost put a cap on it, kind of like how we were hearing about like the sheep cloning like 10 years ago, but we haven't heard about that
That
in a
shit.
while. Maybe we should just like put a cap on this technology right now.
That there's no way they're gonna put a cap on it. It's
I know.
gonna rage out of control. You know, I mean, there's just no way it's gonna be like smarter than us. You know, it can read all information all at once. Like we can't do that. We couldn't even comprehend that. You know, it's like a universe to us, like looking in the void or something. You
Yeah, yeah,
know?
yeah, that's true. Well, a curious thing about this aspect of artificial intelligence now, as you can see, a lot of YouTube musician players, that they this kind of players that loves to play like a machines, because especially the drummers play like 300 beats per minute like a machine. It's not like not natural. So that's a curious thing. We try to sound like a machine, and now there is a lot of machines in a lot of music, so it's very weird, really.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, I think that's I definitely admire people's ability to do that, though. You know, I wish I was more like that. I'm a little more sloppy, you know. But I think it's amazing. It's maybe not be something I would listen to, but I still am like, oh, that's fucking amazing. This guy's like, cool.
yeah. So, guys, we are very close to end this interview. And for this, what are the future plans that the band has for this new album? Perhaps a North American tour, perhaps videos upcoming, or who knows, a European tour the next couple months or years, or perhaps it's very close to came to Mexico on a full Latin American tour, because I think your kind of music is very attached to our people in Latin America, because as you can know, perhaps Sarcófago, Chacal from Brazil, there are very stronger music, there's savage music, and Tite fits perfectly for a Latin American people.
As far as this year goes, for the first half of the year, we're kind of sticking to the West Coast. We have a string of dates that we're playing. We're going to be making it over to the East Coast of the US in September. We're going to be doing a couple weeks out there. And Mexico is definitely in the future. Can't talk too much about it yet, but that's something we're working on. And we're hoping to hit Europe in 2024.
And I know you were asking me about major influences earlier, but Sepultura, speaking of Brazil.
Yeah, for Brazil, yes.
Yeah, like I grew up listening to that. That's like shit.
Yeah, me too, yeah.
I fucking love them.
Yeah, from Morbid Visions
we would
to
love to play
the
down
Rise,
there.
yeah.
Yeah,
great.
I would love to play Brazil. That'd be a dream come true. Anywhere that we play is a dream come true for me, honestly. Like I'm just like stoked on doing this, and we're like so thankful that like you've taken the time even to talk to us, and that like we're doing this shit. But man, I hope to play in front of you someday, and like, you know, meet you and everything, man. Like that's like what it's all about. It's just like doing it and like fucking being in front of people and meeting everybody. There's so many awesome people in the music scene that are good friends of ours, you know.
Okay. Well, guys, the sad times arrive at this interview. I hope you enjoyed this one like me doing this. Guys, you are terrific guys both. So perhaps do you want to add congratulations on the new album? It's a great one. I did my pre-order. I hope so arrive soon. So it depends of the label. So perhaps do you want to add something to your Latin American fans, or your new Latin American fans and Metalerum followers?
We want to come play for you guys.
Yeah,
Fuck yeah, dude. We want to come down to fucking Latin America. Please have us. We'll come. Book us.
Definitely. Yeah. We would love to play down there. It would be a dream come true for me.
Definitely. I'm there.